Right. Okay. I think we're recording now. We are. Good. Okay. Prynhaedda, Corydd Simon Croft, rydw a cadeirydd a Pwyllgor Trosolwg a Chraffu Gofal Cymdeithasol a Iechyd. Good afternoon. My name is Councillor Simon Croft and I am the chair of the Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Can I welcome everybody to the meeting, which is a multi-location meeting, though I'm not sure if anybody is actually remoting in at the moment. We're not sure if... Oh, there we go.
Yes,
We've got it.
I am.
Welcome everybody remotely. Yeah, great. Can you hear me? That's the main thing. Give me a wave. Great, excellent. Oh, that's a good start. Right, okay. The meeting will be live streamed. Oh, sorry. Can I first welcome Councillor Cheryl and to the committee? Nice to have you joining us. Okay, the meeting will be live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. And should the live stream fail, we'll be carrying on and it will be available through the council website after the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available? If you want to make use of the facility, please select the English language option on the microphone unit or on your remote computer. And if you're in the council chamber, that's English as opposed to floor. Okay, on the top line of your display. You can select that with audio settings, I believe, but it's a lot different from how it used to be. Right, for those wishing to speak, please press your microphone, push the speak button, which is down at the bottom, and that will light up red, I believe, or green. Simply for people who are attending remotely, please press the push to speak tab. That puts your request in the queue. I'll take speakers in turn, and as I consider appropriate. Please don't use the yellow hand function unless you want to raise a point of order. As we get used to this new system, it's worth noting if your microphone is red, you are an active speaker and people can hear you. If it's flashing red, I don't believe they can yet. And if it's green, that means you're moving up the queue to speak. For those attending remotely, please note that those in the chamber will be enabled to use the chat facility. If you do need to leave the meeting, remote attendees, please pop a message in the chat so Democratic Services can be aware and let us know when you return. I expect everybody present and participating in this meeting to conduct themselves appropriately and be respectful of each other, and that applies to members, officers, members of the press or public attending. Now, when I open up the debate to members, I will ask committee members to speak and put their questions first, followed by non-committee members. It would be helpful if members could ask all their questions in one go, especially today, as I imagine there will be a lot of questions. I do not wish to stifle debate on the subject, but can I avoid members that all questions need to be focused on the subject matter and avoid repetition? Okay. Thank you. Item number 1, the appointment of Vice Chair. Have I got any nominations for Vice Chair, please? Councillor Cheryl.
Diolch. I'd like to nominate Councillor Abdul.
Thank you. Have I got any seconds for that? Yep. Press your button. Yep.
Other people have got in since.
Oh, right, okay. Who's Councillor David? I think you were next on the...
I was just going to second the nomination. That
Right, you've got him first.
Councillor Abdul. That's
Thank you, Councillor David.
Got to be quick.
Yeah.
On the draw.
It's like, we'll be giving prizes. Okay, thank you. Have I got any other nominations for the Vice Chair? Could members please show in favour or against? In favour, please. And remotely? Any against? I declare that's carried. And congratulations, Councillor Abdul. Bring your card with you. papers are stuck together. There we go. Got it. Right, thank you. Right, have I got any apologies for absence, Jane?
Yes, 2 members, councillors Anthony Bertola, who's here now, hello there, and Councillor Frank, you're here, okay. Let's try Councillor Mandy Hawkins and Councillor Gail Jones. Thank you, members.
Okay, right. Declarations of interest, according to the Code of Local Government Conduct. Please declare the nature of any personal interests. I know we will all be users of Betsy Cadwallader here, so that's automatic for everybody. Okay, right. Kincorrid Austin, did you have something?
Yes, I'm over here, Simon. I'm over here, Simon.
Okay.
It's not a declaration. I just want to give my apologies. I have to leave at 3:30. I've got another meeting later on in the afternoon.
Yeah, diolch. Okay. Any urgent matters, Jane?
No urgent matters.
Okay, minutes. Has everybody had a look at the minutes of the last meeting? Pages 4 to 7 of your pack. Could I have somebody to propose them as an accurate record? Yep, Councillor Bernice. And seconder? Councillor Jane. Joe. Okay, right. All those in favour of that, please show. Anybody against? Thank you, that's carried. Right, item number 6. The minutes of the informal joint scrutiny meeting for the Conwy and Denbighshire Youth Justice Service. This was for information. Could somebody propose these as accurate, please? Councillor Bernice. And a seconder, please. Yeah, thanks, Councillor Gale. And all those in favour, please. Anybody against? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Right, questions to Cabinet Ministers. Do we have any? No questions. Okay, the forward work programme is on pages 14 to 23 of your pack. And are there any differences for that? Yep, anything new?
Diolch, Chair. So, prynawn da, members. So, following Council approval of the recommendations from the Scrutiny Working Group, I will be scheduling a meeting in the next few weeks of this committee to specifically look at the forward work programme. This will provide members with an opportunity to suggest items to go on the forward plan, obviously mindful that scrutiny scoring criteria still needs to be followed, and mindful of the number of meetings scheduled, including the number of items on the agenda. So, also in line with the Council resolution, I will be reviewing the current forward work programme and liaising with the Chair and Vice Chair to remove any reports for information where there is no statutory requirement for those reports to go to democracy. These will be available either in the members' brief or in the library, which will be available on the public website. However, members will obviously have the opportunity to request relevant information reports. That's my update, Chair.
Thank you, Dawn. Right. Okay. Could I have somebody to propose the forward work programme? Kincorrid Bernice. And Liz to second. Thank you. All those in favour, please. Right, that's carried. Anybody against? No, I don't think there's anybody else. No, remotely? No. Okay. Gofal. Right, item number 9. We'd like to receive an update from the Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board. Pardon me. Can I welcome David Edwards, who's chair of the Betsy Cadwallader Health Board, Gareth Evans, who's the Integrated Health Community Director, and Alison Cowell, who's the Assistant Area Director for Child and Adolescent Health. Okay, please. Yep, you have the floor.
Diolch yn iawn, Cadeirydd. Dwi am ddefnyddio Gymraeg I gychwyn, os gai. Rhoi cyfle I bawb ystyn yr offer cyfieithu, sicrhau fod yn gweithio'n iawn ar yr chog. Gan gyntaf ddiolch yn fawr iawn I chi am y gwahoddiad i'r Pwyllgor Chraffu hwn. Dwi'n meddwl bod hyn yn dilyn cyfarfod cyngor llawn rai misoedd yn ôl pan ddethon ni i gael trafodaeth efo chi. Oeddwn ni'n ffeindio hynny'n ddefnyddiol tu hwnt. Nifer o gwestiynau yn codi wrth gwrs. Heddiw, dyn ni'n awyddus i ganolbwyntio ar y cynnydd mae'r Bwr Iechyd wedi cyflawni yn ystod y cyfnod diweddar a roi cyfle am gwestiynau. Gai bwysleisio bod ni'n gweld Llywodraeth leol fel partner allweddol yn ein gwaith ni. Felly, dychithe fel cyngor a'r 5 cyngor arall yn y gogledd yn bwysig i ni. Beth bynnag yw'r sefyllfa, neu mae'r sefyllfa wedi bod yn y gorffennol, dwi'n gobeithio'n fawr bod ni'n gallu datblygu perthynas agos, agored ac eiddfed, fel bod ni'n gallu cyflawni ar gyfer dinasyddion y gogledd. Mae gennych chi ddiddordeb arbennig yn Sir Conwy wrth gwrs, ac mae'n diddordeb ni reit ar draws yr rhanbarth. Felly gyda hynny o gyflwyniad, mae gennym ni sleids, a mae gen i gydweithwyr yma sydd yn mynd i fod yn hyddysg yn cyflwyno gwybodaeth chi. Mae bosib iawn fyddwn ni ddim yn gallu ateb pob cwestiwn heddiw, cadeirydd, ac beth bynnag dyn ni am wneud, dyn ni am fod yn agored efo chi. Os dyn ni ddim yn gallu ateb rhywbeth, yna awn ni ffwr, awn ni wneud yr ymchwil priodol ac yna danfon ateb atoch chi fel pwyllgor os ydy hynny'n iawn. Dwi'n meddwl bod gwell gen i ni wneud hynny na ceisio creu atebion sydd ddim yn dal dŵr. Felly os awn ni trwy'r sleids i nodi yn gyntaf y cynnydd dyn ni wedi gwneud, mae'r sleid nesaf yn nodi lle dyn ni wedi cyrraedd fel Bwr Iechyd. Ac dwi am wneud dadansoddiad sydd yn cyd-fynd ar dadansoddiad dwi'n gwneud yn bersonol, ond hefyd yn cyd-fynd efo hyn mae pobl eraill yn deud wrthyn ni.
Is it possible to make that full screen? It's a bit difficult for some of the people to see, I would think. The top. No? Next one along. It's full screen at the top.
It won't go any bigger.
No? Okay, that's better than it was, thank you.
Okay. Iawn, diolch yn iawn. Ie, felly dwi am rannu efo chi dadansoddiad ras o lle dyn ni'n meddwl dyn ni wedi cyrraedd fel Bwr Iechyd. Dych chi'n ymwybodol bod y Bwrdd Iechyd wedi cael ei osod mewn i fesur arbennig tua 2 flynedd yn ôl, gyda yr gweinidog yn penodi rhai ohonyn ni'n aelodau newydd o'r bwrdd, ac yna yn raddol yn creu bwrdd llawn. Yr hyn oedd yn wynebu ni oedd bwrdd a sefydliad oedd yn wynebu sialensau ar bob cornel, dwi'n meddwl. A'r hyn da ni wedi llwyddo i wneud ac oedd angen wneud fel gwaith cychwynnol, oedd sefydlogi pethau. Dwi'n meddwl oedd pawb yn cydnabod bod y bwrdd ddim mewn sefyllfa dda o ran cynnal perthnasau gyda phobl ac yn dueddol fod yn amddiffynol iawn. Dwi'n a Carol Shilaby fel y prif weithredwr yn fwriadol wedi ceisio sicrhau bobl yn bod ni yn mynd allan i gyfarfod pobl, nid yn unig pobl fel chithau'n partneriaid, ond hefyd y cyhoedd yn cynnal cyfarfodydd ar draws y gogledd. Ond hefyd yn ceisio bod yn agored yn yr hyn dyn ni'n adrodd i'n pwyllgorau a'r bwrdd. A felly byddwch chi'n gallu nodi hynny wrth allan papurau'r bwrdd neu gwylio rhai o'n cyfarfodydd ni. Felly oedd hynny'n gam pwysig iawn a cysylltu gyda phobl. Yr ail beth dyn ni wedi wneud ydy datblygu ein trefn llywodraethiant. Roedd angen gwneud hynny. Mi roedd yna wendidau sylfaenol ac wrth benodi cyfarwyddwr llywodraethu profiadol a da iawn mae hithau wedi cydweithio efo ni i ddatblygu'r ochr yna o'r gwaith oedd yn gwbl hanfodol. A falle drydydd elfen oedd yr ochr ariannol. Rhai o'n chi'n ymwybodol, dwi'n dod o gefndir Llywodraeth leol fy hun, lle oeddech chi'n mynd o wythnos i wythnos i chwilio am geiniogau yn aml iawn oherwydd toriadau oedd cynghorau yn wynebu. Ddes i mewn i'r bwr iechyd ac oedd yna ddiwylliant holl o wahanol, mae rhaid mi ddweud. Doedd dim y diwylliant angen rheidiol o ran rheoli arian a deall sut mae buddsoddiad yn gweithio'n iawn bob tro. Felly, dyn ni wedi gweithio'n galed ar yr ochr yna, ac am y tro cyntaf yn hanes y bwr iechyd, dyn ni wedi cyflwyno cyllid cytbwys i'r Llywodraeth Cymru. Hynny yw, dyn ni ddim yn gwario mwy na'r arian dyn ni derbyn am y tro cyntaf yn hanes y bwr iechyd. Felly mae hynny'n gam pwysig ymlaen. Yr elfen arall sydd angen ein sylw ni, a dwi'n siŵr sydd yn flaenllaw yn eich meddyliau chi, ac yn sicr yn flaenllaw yn y meddyliau'r cyhoedd, ydy sut mae'r bwr iechyd yn perfformio o ran y gwasanaethau dyn ni'n darparu. Dyn ni'n gwella, ond mae yna ffordd bell i ni fynd, byddwn ni'n dweud, ac mae'r sleidiau nesaf yn crynhoi, dwi'n meddwl, lle dyn ni arni. Dyn ni'n crybwyll bod rhai sy'n aros 2 flynedd a mwy am driniaeth wedi gostwng 43%. Erbyn hyn mae bron yn 100%, felly mae hynny'n gynnydd da iawn. Mae'r gwaith dyn ni'n gwneud gyda'r rhestru aros a'r gofal arbenigol yn allweddol bwysig, achos mae pobl yn disgwyl rhy hir. A dwi'n meddwl dyna di'r maes lle dyn ni angen cynyddu fwy. Dyn ni angen datblygu ffyrdd newydd o weithio, dyn ni angen gweithio llawer mwy hyblyg. Dyn ni angen defnyddio cryfder y bwr iechyd yma, sydd y bwr iechyd mwyaf yng Nghymru, ond yn aml iawn dyn ni'n gweithio mewn pocedi ar wahân. Rwy'n gall hynny fod yn gryfder i ni, ein maint ni, ond dyn ni angen sicrhau bod ni'n cael y fantais yna llawer mwy na dyn ni wedi wneud yn y gorffennol. Felly dyna'r maes dyn ni am ganolbwyntio arno fo rwan ydy y maes perfformiad, y maes lle mae'r cyhoedd yn gallu gweld y gwahaniaeth dyn ni'n gwneud yn glir. Felly dwi'n gwybod a fydd chithau efo profiadau, dwi'n siŵr, mae gwasanaethau dan bwysau, pwysau sylweddol, dyn ni wrth gwrs dal yn ceisio ymateb i yr hyn oedd wedi creu yn dilyn y pandemig a Covid a rhestru aros, ond tra bod ni'n ceisio ymateb i hynny, mae mwy a mwy o bobl yn dod mewn i'r system. Felly yn ogystal ag ymateb i sefyllfa heddiw, mae angen i ni edrych ymlaen a meddwl am y dyfodol, a sicrhau yn bod ni'n darparu gwasanaethau sydd yn cyfarfod pobl yn eu cymunedau fwy, sydd yn ymateb yn gynnar i iechyd pobl, ac sy'n annog pobl i fyw'n iach ac meddwl am ei iechyd eu hunain a lles eu hunain. Fydd hynny yn ei dro wedyn yn golygu llai o bwysau ar y rheng flaen, dwi'n gobeithio. Ac i gloi un fater sydd yn allweddol bwysig ac sydd yn gynyddol bwysig ydy iechyd a lles pobl ifanc. Dyn ni wedi gweld cynnydd sylweddol yn y gofyn am gefnogaeth gan bobl ifanc. Pobl ifanc sydd wedi mynd trwy'r pandemig, sydd wedi gweld newid llwyr yn eu bywydau. A pobl ifanc, os gai ddweud, sy'n byw mewn byd sydd yn aml yn ddryslyd iawn ac pwysau yn dod o bob cyfeiriad. Felly, dyn ni'n ymwybodol iawn o'r pwysau ychwanegol yn y maes yna, a dyn ni'n wyddus i greu gwasanaeth sydd yn ymyrryd yn gynnar a gyda'r cefnogaeth priodol, ac i gloi, mae hon yn enghraifft dda iawn o'r cydweithio sydd angen os dyn ni am wneud yn llwyddiannus. Cydweithio gyda chithau fel awdurdod lleol, a cydweithio gyda partneriaid eraill yn y trydydd sector. Na i stopio hynna cadeirydd a trysglwyddo Gareth sydd ar y chwith i fi i fynd trwy weddill y sleids. Diolch yn iawn.
Diolch, David.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you very much. We just move on to the next slide, please. The next few slides are an attempt really to show you some of the progress we've made across a range of domains which are recognisable both from our annual plan as areas that we seek to improve and deliver upon, and also align with some of the reasons that we ended up in special measures in the first place. The first one is about a group of services and specialties that we call fragile services. It's not the best term, I have to say, but it's a group of services that are in need of some help and have been in need of some help. Over the last year, 18 months, we can point to improvements in a number of areas. You will all, I'm sure, remember the emergency department at Glenclwyd Hospital being escalated over some concerns by Healthcare Inspectorate Wales. Last August, we're pleased to say, they de-escalated us out of those concerns because of the improvements that we've been able to make. Similarly, vascular services were escalated by HIW some time ago, and over a year ago now were de-escalated as well because of the improvements that they've been able to demonstrate with confidence to our regulator. There are other services as well. Dermatology has been a difficult service for us over the last 12 months. We've taken steps with clinical and managerial leads to address some of those concerns, and working with outside providers have managed to secure quite significant capacity to reduce the waiting times and improve patient experience there. Similarly, mental health has a very large and comprehensive improvement plan. As part of that, working with patients and users and carers of mental health services has been strengthened, and we have a expert advisory group in place which is chaired by an independent individual, really to try and ensure that the improvements we are making are real and sustainable as well. We're also obviously not just focused on the here and now. We have to think about the long term as well. So we do have a focus about moving forward for all these services and others that are in difficulty, and our ambition is to put a medium-term plan around all these services that gives us some confidence that they will return to the place that we would want them to be as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Similarly, quality of care. Quality is absolutely fundamental to us as an organisation. It's at the heart of what we do. Over the last 18 months, we've introduced a new quality management system into the organisation, developed with the expertise of the Institute of Healthcare Improvement. This is really quite emergent still in the organisation, but holds great promise, I think, for the way that we can place quality and the quality of care and experience of users at the heart of everything that we do. And we're starting to see some green shoots of improvement in the way that we're using and rolling out this methodology across the organisation. Similarly, we introduced a new integrated concerns approach in the organisation. This partly came from some concerns that we'd had from the HM coroner, who had been critical about some of the investigations, the standard of some of the investigations that we were providing to them, but probably more critical of our ability to learn as an organisation. So our ambition to be a learning organisation has grown enormously over the last couple of years. We see it as the key to underpin everything that we do in terms of improvement. As part of that integrated approach, obviously we've looked at how we manage complaints that come into the organisation. That's a key source of intelligence for us about how we're doing. We recognised we weren't particularly responsive to our public around concerns and complaints, and we've moved to change that, and we are now delivering against the national standard for response rates for complaints, and I believe, based on the last data, are actually the best in Wales in that regard. So we've moved from being the worst to the best, which is a good sign of improvement for us. Equally, the board have been very concerned, obviously, to ensure they understand how our population experiences our service, and they receive a regular report to board as part of their drive around openness and transparency, as well as to aid learning as well for the organisation. And again, moving forward, we're very focused on the quality management system. As I say, this is something that we are prioritising. We're very keen to build consistency, greater consistency, particularly across the region. We still have examples of things that are being done differently, which we need to address to get the best that we can for the whole region. The digital agenda has grown enormously for us in the last year or two as well. Digital is a great enabler for us, and we recognise that some of our paper-based systems are actually holding us back when it comes to our ability to improve quality. We need to enable our clinicians better on the digital front, so we have a fairly ambitious programme to introduce electronic healthcare records in the organisation over the next few years. And then, of course, the biggest single issue, I think, which comes through probably in different aspects of the slides and the presentation, is how people access our services, whether that's in primary care or into our hospital system, whether it's children's, whether it's adults. Access is a main focus area for us as a board, and it has a huge impact on the quality and experience of our users. Next slide. In terms of leadership capability and culture, unsurprisingly perhaps, with an organisation being in special measures, the leadership and the culture of the organisation has been a priority to focus upon. The board has made strategic commitments around this, and there's been a lot of work undertaken in the last year or so, and some of the product of that work is starting to appear in the organisation now. We fairly recently launched our new values and behaviours framework. We have agreed some new organisational design principles which guide us with some of our decision making, and we've got a fairly comprehensive culture change programme going on across the region, and quite a large number of cultural champions within the organisation which help with that programme itself. We've very much promoted openness and transparency, as David alluded to earlier on. That's a key part of our culture and our values. Very much led from the top, from David and from Carol Shirabir as our chief executive. We've seen new executives come into the team. We are almost full as an executive team now. Just in the last few months, we've seen a new chief operating officer take up her place. We've seen a director of estates, director of commissioning, and during the summer we'll be welcoming a new medical director into the organisation as well, and that's bringing stability to the leadership team as well. We've had a new leadership development framework. We've had leadership conferences, and lots of strings to this particular programme. The culture of the organisation and the leadership within it is key to us improving as an organisation. And moving forward as well, we've got fairly big ambitions around the design of the organisation. One of our 4 major change programmes this year, which we've called Foundations for the Future, is about really agreeing what sort of organisation we want to be and how we work. And that's about bringing some of these aspects like culture and strategy together, along with the structure of the organisation as well, and how that might look to be more effective. Next slide, please. Governance, equally sharply in focus, I think, over the last 18 months. David alluded to that they've had a full complement of independent members for some time now, and that has brought a lot of stability to the board. The appointment of an experienced director of corporate governance has brought some fresh thinking, impetus and energy, I think, to the governance within the organisation, and that's allowed the board and the committees of the board in particular to progress quite rapidly from where they were to where they are now. A number of key frameworks have been developed and agreed within the board. The risk management framework, for example, the integrated performance framework. We made big strides on our board assurance framework and our corporate risk register. We've seen some encouraging feedback as well. Our most recent Audit Wales structured assessment at the beginning of this calendar year, gave us quite a lot of praise, I think, around the improvements we have been made, whilst recognising, as we always will do, I think that there's always more that can be done. And again, I think in this area, our long-term plan and our ambition around a 10-year plan for the sort of organisation we wish to be is our key thought for the longer term. And then finance strategy and planning really together. David alluded to perhaps where we were on our financial approach. We've made strong progress in the last 12 months on this. A lot of improvement around financial governance and the controls within the organisation. We've trained 500 of the most senior or relevant staff in regards to procurement and contracts management, which was something that we were criticised for previously. Our financial performance has improved. We delivered, actually slightly exceeded our savings target for the last financial year, which is a place we haven't been for a long time. And we've got clear strategic intent within the organisation. Our 5 strategic objectives now are well known in the organisation. They've been there for some time, and our planning and our strategic thinking is all aligned to those objectives. Moving forward, clearly getting ourselves into a position where we become a financially balanced and stable organisation is really important. For the first time this year, we've been able to approve a financially balanced plan, an approvable IMTP 3-year plan. That still has to be approved by Welsh Government, and there's no guarantee that will be approved, but it is a step forward for us to be in a position to even put forward an approvable plan to Welsh Government. We're starting to mobilise our thinking around a 10-year strategy. This is important. We haven't had that sort of forward look for some time as an organisation, and that's an area we'll be very keen to work with you as partners on as well. We've improved our capability across our planning function as well in order to drive some of these improvements. And we're very mindful, clearly, of the ministerial priorities for us as an organisation. They are very much, again, at the heart of our annual delivery plan. Next slide, please. So, some of what is really in focus for us this next 12 months or so, there is a lot, but there's a few things on this slide I think that will be fairly obvious as to why they are in focus. Clearly, we want to continue to improve the quality of our services for our population, the outcomes they have and the experiences they have. I think we're clear as a board that this is fundamentally how we should be judged across any measure at all. So that's very much at the front of our minds. We're very keen to work with you and others as partners on our 10-year strategy for North Wales. I think we have got a lot of overlap as partners in areas that we can assist each other with, and we can work together and collaborate to improve the lives of our population. We want to continue to roll out the quality management system, get the early learning for that, and use that to drive our clinical strategy for how we want to deliver our clinical services across the region. It's not just some of the fragile services that need to be considered. I think all our clinical services are under pressure in one way or another, and how they may look over the next 10 years, I think, is a conversation we wish to have with everyone. I mentioned the digital agenda, so we really want to push this. We've got two particular high-profile schemes on the go at the moment. One, we've been successful in securing money for all-age mental health digital system, and that has great potential to improve the quality, the safety, and experience of people who use both our children and adults' mental health services. And we have a very ambitious plan to roll out a wider electronic healthcare record across the organisation and join up all parts of the organisation and move away from our paper-based systems. And of course, it's still very much part of our strategy and ambition to make what's called the shift left, really moving what we can away from our secondary care, our acute hospitals, into our communities and into our primary and community services, and try and get a heightened focus on prevention and early intervention as a way really of providing sustainability for health services in the future. Next slide. I'm just going to finish with a few slides, which 4 slides really, which are a bit more specific on some areas. I'm doing that because there's a couple of slides which are relevant to you as Conway, and a couple of slides which I know regularly come up in conversation with yourselves and with other partners as well. So I thought might assist in terms of where some of the questions might be and some of the discussion. So the first one is around our CAMS service and the improvements and the improvement programme we have there. Our ambition here is very much in line with the national strategic programme for CAMS services. We've made a lot of progress around our early help model, really trying to focus on the preventative and the early intervention agenda to try and give people access to what they need access to, which isn't always a specialist consultation with professionals. So we've made progress on that. We've also made some progress against our mental health measure, which is largely an access measure. We have seen reduction in waiting times, but without a doubt, this is another one that we would say has some way still to go in terms of our ambition, where we want to get to. But good improvement in the reduction in the waiting times over the last year. And there's been some innovative and positive work around children in crisis. We've seen some real reductions in where some of these children are presenting and are able to be managed as well. We've seen a reduction in the number of children who have had to be placed in one of our acute children's wards, which is often inappropriate for this group. And more recently, we've been trialling a crisis hub in Denbighshire, which is, although early days, is getting very positive reviews at the moment. No doubt a key challenge for us still in this area, and it's what's perhaps holding us back a little bit from making deeper improvement really, is around the workforce. We still have some challenges, particularly around CAMS practitioners and the recruitment and the retention of that group, but clearly some work going on to try and improve that as well. Next slide is around neurodevelopment. This is an area which certainly does have some improvement required around waiting times, around our access times. Pleased that yourself as a partner, along with other partners for the Regional Partnership Board, have recognised this as a joint priority for some work which has started, really to try and redesign a whole system approach for these children and young people. Really that tries to get at their needs and provide a range of offers to them. There's been a lot of work going on. You can see from the progress to date some of the regional work that has happened this year, and I think it sets us up well for some further work around developing this needs-led approach across North Wales. We are focused on the waiting list. We know they're too long. This regional work will help us enormously towards improving that situation as well. Next slide. Just a few words really about primary care, in particular our managed practice. We have one in Conway. It has, over the last year or so, been subject of some interest, I think, to that practice population. I'm sure yourselves as local politicians as well. It's quite a large practice, 17,500 registered patients. And we have, over the year, worked hard to recruit to a number of gaps we had in our workforce at the practice, which was causing, at times, difficulties in accessing care there. We now have 5 GPs, 3.5 full-time equivalent, and are recruiting more with an ambition to get that up to 7.5 full-time equivalent staff. And we're largely filled across all other vacancies as well, across all the other professional groups and administrative groups as well. So that's quite a healthy position for the practice at the moment. They are quite focused on this Year of Care programme, which is about really keeping an eye on patients who have chronic conditions and ensuring that they are given a review each year to ensure that they are on the right path, so to speak, in terms of their managing their condition. And we have seen some improvements because of the improvements in workforce in terms of accessing, particularly for same-day appointments as well. And then to the last slide, I thought just a word or two on quite a big project going on in Conway, which I'm sure you've got some awareness about, which is the Orthopaedic Centre of Excellence at Llandudno Hospital, which is currently under construction. Not sure if any of you have been on the site recently, but it's very visible now. And work continues to try and have this delivered by around about October this year is the hope, with it then being commissioned for patients. And we are cautiously optimistic patients will be in there this side of Christmas. This is a really important plank for improving waiting times for orthopaedics in North Wales. There'll be around about 1,900 procedures per year in this place, but more importantly, it's a protected resource. It's not going to be affected by the unscheduled care demands that go on in our acute hospitals, which lead to hospital theatre cancellations of procedures that sometimes unfortunately do occur. It's also hopefully going to be very efficient, so we're going to get more work through there as well. And will, I think, develop, as I say, as a centre of excellence over time. So I'd finish there, Chair, if that's okay. There are, I'm sure, a number of other areas that will be questions about, but I wanted to try and make sure you had as much time as possible to allow for the questions from the committee. Thank you.
Yeah, and diolch yn fawr, David, and and Gareth. Thank you. Those were some very good presentations. Right, okay. Dawn, have you got some?
Yeah, sorry, I should have declared this. It's only because it was mentioned in the presentation. My daughter is actually a manager in ED in Ysbyty Glenclwyd, so in the interest of transparency, I just wanted to declare that.
Okay, right. Thank you. Right, I'm sure you've all got some questions. Can I please ask everybody to not refer to individual cases or confidential matters which are progressing through the system? And the other thing is, please speak directly into the microphone. Make sure it's pointing at you. If you can see the red light on the end of the microphone, you're not speaking straight into it. And feel free to move it to one side of your laptop or your iPad so you can actually speak straight into it. And that will help everybody remotely a lot. Thank you. Right, questions, anybody? Oh, right. Liz. Encourage Liz.
Thank you very much indeed for the presentation and really pleased with the progress. What am I doing wrong now? But
move it towards you. Yeah.
That's it. Is that better? and really pleased with the progress that you've made. I'm interested to know what measures were put in place in the ED to improve the service delivery. That's one question I've got. Do you want my rest of my questions? Yeah. I know that the triage appears to work well from a patient perspective, but it's the next step that I have found difficulty when I have been in ED. I'd like to see more services delivered via a GP practice. And I think because I live in a rural area and transport is such a problem, to be able to have more services delivered from the GP practice rather than having to go to YG or Glenclwyd. And also related again to transport is the orthopaedic unit at Llandudno Hospital. I'm so pleased to see that that is really moving along. Will you be having outpatients clinics from there? Because from a rural area, it's so much easier to travel by bus to get there than travelling by train because it's almost on the doorstep. And that would help me with my transport issues I have in my area. And along with the Cabinet Lead for Children and Families, we're members of the Well North Wales group. And that has been a really, really beneficial group to be. And I'm so pleased that will continue. There was something that you brought up and I didn't write it down. I should have done. I think it was the last slide when you want to have more improvements in community services. Anything that you want to do in that vein, I would really like to be involved in anything like that, please. Thank you very much.
There we are. Thank you. I'll try and remember all those questions now, Liz, that's okay. In terms of ED, the measures that were in place, there were many, and they're all available in public available reports as such. So the measures we put in really try to address the findings that Healthcare Inspectorate Wales had in that department at the time, which as they were quite varied, but overcrowding in the waiting room was one, concerns about people's health and their acuity of illness being managed in a waiting room as well. The delays, of course, that happen both initially at triage and then beyond triage, as you indicate as well. And staffing was another issue as well. So there's been a whole range of measures taken place that have led to improvements there. So staffing levels are now improved. The way we look after patients who are suddenly having to wait in the waiting room far longer than we would like, which is a reality, not one we like and not accept, but is a reality, unfortunately, still, as it is in most emergency departments in the UK, I would add. So we've put in a nurse to oversee the waiting room to ensure that people are cared for and are, I suppose, visible to the staff in case their condition deteriorates as well. And then, of course, behind the scenes, there's been a whole load of work done around the flow of patients through the department. And we've tried things like our same-day emergency care model, STEC as known, where we try and move people who come into ED who we believe we can turn around in 24 hours, but are sicker than just an MIU type of minor injuries type of case, who might require an assessment from a medic or a surgeon, but we believe we can turn around that. That's a well-established model now. We've been trying frailty models as well to do similar things as well. So there's a whole host of sort of different approaches behind the waiting room of ED that have led to improvements. GP, yes, I would concur. It's very much our ambition to move services out into the community. Sometimes we're restricted by estate rather than ambition, if we're honest. But we have got lots of examples of where we have moved people out into community services, into primary care services. Not always physically in a GP practice, but sometimes that is the case. We have got an excellent example of a primary care audiology service that was developed in the last 2 years, where people can access an audiologist within primary care. And we've got more innovative models of trying to improve access to care, such as our heart failure van, which travels around rural communities in particular and is able to undertake diagnostic tests around heart failure as well. I think that has been that has led to lots of thinking about what else we can perhaps do, particularly for rural areas in that regard. So that ambition is very much there, and we would like to see more services move off the acute site and into community. In terms of Llandudno and orthopaedics, I'm not sure we're planning to change orthopaedic outpatients in this development. The model is very much about the procedures, the hips and knees will do there, and the short stay ward. Having said that, there is obviously a range of outpatients that take place at Llandudno now, and I'm not hand on heart sitting here sure whether orthopaedics is part of that or not. So it's a question I can take back to say, actually, given that orthopaedics will have a significant presence on the site come the end of this year, early next year, could they actually look at whether some outpatient clinics for a certain part of the population will be done there? People will be travelling from all over North Wales to that centre, from Wrexham, from the Llyn Peninsula, as a centre of excellence. Their outpatients and their local follow-ups will all be done locally. So we won't be bringing people from Wrexham to have an outpatient appointment in Llandudno. It'll be their procedure. That's done there. And I've just forgotten what the last question was.
No, I think I was just praising the Well North Wales.
Oh, Well North Wales, yes.
Yeah.
Improve on the community services.
Thank you.
Diolch, Gareth. Okay, I think the next person on the list is Uncovered Cathy.
Diolch, Chair.
I think
Thank
Cathy
you for
got there first.
letting me speak. I'm obviously not a member of the committee, but as Cabinet Member for Children, Families and Safeguarding, I have got a particular interest in some of these issues. I want to say thank you for coming and doing such a thorough presentation. Unfortunately, even with my glasses on, I couldn't read a word of the slides. So, I had to listen, and I will have missed some bits because I couldn't see the key points. Apologies. So I particularly wanted to understand a bit more about our joint working and our partnership working around children's continuing care, and also issues with joint working around mental health for children. So one of you alluded to the Children's Regional Partnership Board priorities, one of which is general well-being and one of which is neurodiversity. So there has been a commitment that ND assessments, the waiting lists, will drop below 4 years per child. I wanted to understand where we were with that and how many children we might have, even if we've ticked that box and no one's waiting longer than 4 years. Have we got hundreds of our young people waiting for 3 years, 11 months, for example? Because we know that even though an assessment isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all, it does, under our current structures, unlock support. It unlocks finances within schools to support those young people, etc. It is also really important around mental health and well-being, the impact on the work we do in our youth justice service and in our MASH teams. So that's a number of strands, but in the same area. Thank you.
Yeah, is that okay? Thank you, Cathy. Yes, in terms of our PB, you're absolutely right, and I know we've talked about that being ND certainly being a priority now, a shared priority for the regional partnership across North Wales, which is absolutely the right thing. So, as you rightly say, the diagnosis is only part of that experience for the child or young person and their family. So now that the RPB has agreed that that's a priority for all partners, that enables us to really start to transform the service that our children, young people and their families are getting. I was at a workshop just over, I think probably 2 weeks ago, with the RPB to agree the action plan. So that's really clearly laid out now in terms of what the step changes are that will need to happen, and each of our agencies' responsibilities to make that progress. I totally understand what you're saying in terms of sometimes, you know, that assessment and that diagnosis can unlock things. And I think that's something that we as an RPB are really acutely aware of, because that needs changing as well. And I, you know, one of our heads of service from social services uses the example of the fact that a young person needed to get a diagnosis to be able to wear a hat in school, and that's not okay. So now that we are working together in partnership, I really do think that I'm feeling quite optimistic about that transformational change, but it will absolutely take time. And whilst that's happening, there is an enormous waiting list. And that's happened right across the UK. That's gone up so by such a significant percentage since the pandemic. And for us in Conway and Denbighshire, we currently have just under 3,000 children on that waiting list across the 2 counties. And that's an enormous problem for us. Now, in terms of the 4-year waits, we absolutely are focused on that. We did achieve that target at the end of the last financial year right across North Wales, but that's an ongoing problem. That's not going away. And as you say, how many of them are 3 years and 11 months, because that just keeps rolling, doesn't it? So we are still very focused on the very long waits. But to make the changes that we've got to make, we've got to not just focus on that. We must focus on those that are actually, in terms of triaging their clinical needs, their risk needs, that there are other factors that are going on for that child or young person that need to be considered, rather than just how long they've been waiting. So that is work that we are attending to. And one of the things I'm really keen to ensure is that we work at that waiting list, but we also work at that transformation. And some of that is about actually looking at some of those referrals that have just come in, and actually having a different response to that as well. And I use the example of, and some of you in the room know that I've been was a health visitor for many years, that actually a developmental assessment done by a health visitor is really rich and comprehensive. That is so useful in terms of a neuro-development assessment. But if the child has then waited on the waiting list for 4 years, it isn't current. So to make the transformation change happen, it's really important that we actually go with the model that we want to implement, as well as, and get some quick wins and get the transformation changes happening, as well as being focused on the long waiters. That's really challenging in terms of a workforce capacity issue for us. But it's something that we are actively trying to make happen as well. And some of that isn't happening as quickly as we want, but I can assure you that in centre, that is what I'm trying to drive forward with. We are under some pressure at the moment to work regionally and make sure that it's not postcodal, and that actually a child, wherever they're living, are getting the same weight, and trying to actually make sure that we use our capacity across North Wales as efficiently as we can. That's challenging for us, for children and young people who are neurodiverse, because as you all know around the room, the support that they have from schools is fundamental to their ongoing profile and what they need in terms of support, as well as the diagnosis. And a diagnosis isn't a one-off appointment. The assessment and the diagnosis takes time. So that's a significant piece of work that is a priority for me as the Associate Director for Children's Services in Centre, and as you rightly say, it's a priority for the RPB, and we're working really hard to improve that experience and clearly the performance of that service as well. Is that?
Yeah. And Corrith Penny, did you have something to follow up on that? Press your button again, I think. No? How do we go red?
Yep, that's it. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm Penny Andow, portfolio holder for Adult and Community. Thank you very much for coming to this committee today, and I feel that after your presentation, your outcomes are exactly the same as ours. We're major partners in this community. We're major partners in ensuring our citizens have the right to effective healthcare. The 10-year strategy is really interesting. We're keen to work with partners. You're keen to work with partners. We're really keen to work with you. There's obviously an overlap between what you deliver and what we deliver. So partnership and communication is crucial. So we need to work on joint strategy planning for a start, and then we need to be better informed on your strategic priorities, both at a corporate and area level. Social care is prioritising hospital discharge in order to assist with hospital flow. However, we have examples of hospital discharge without a clear discharge plan and lack of clarity with the district nurses in the community. And I note you want to work with the community, so that's straight away a point that we can start picking up with. If we don't have that communication, we can't provide good care, and the patient who has been discharged will then come back into Ysbyty Gwynedd or whichever hospital. We're really proud as a council to be forward-thinking and forward-driving. We're extremely lucky with the quality of staff we have, and now you've been recruiting at senior level, so you're going to have your directorship and what they hope to achieve working with you. So our strategy, we have a number of projects successful. We've got Buth and Adol. We've got a very effective youth service. However, we struggle to work with Betsy Cadwallader, buy-in and commitment for joint responsibility. That hampers our service greatly. And if it hampers our service, you're a stakeholder, it is hampering yours. Where posts are recruited, then we have a significant positive impact on the lives of the Conway residents. So we really need that communication flow to be efficient, direct and effective. There's a lack of constant messaging from Betsy Cadwallader Centre on the priorities, the use of regional funding on sub-regional footprint, leading to delays in the use of regional funds. I would add to that whenever we hear social care have been given 40 million, it doesn't actually come to social care, it goes to the health board. And we, as a council, are continually being battered with that. So thank you very much for listening to my points. I would like some response now in front of the scrutiny committee, but this is a conversation that is going to have to take place at regular basis. So thank you very much indeed.
Yep. And again. How do we make that go red?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the fundamental point you make is that we are in the same space. Do you know there's always a danger with individual organisations that we think we are precious and more important than somebody else, but that's not how the public see us. The public see us as providing services which are one and the same to them. So I think it's important that we adopt that approach. And to achieve what I think you want us to achieve, we have to have a very open and mature relationship where we can trust each other and value each other. So I'm hoping that that is developing. it won't be without its hurdles. I know you've pointed out to some of them. And I think we should discuss some of those aspects in detail in terms of, okay, funding. There tends to be a divide in funding. For instance, continual healthcare, as you say, it has been set up in a way that divides local authorities and the health board. Now, whether that is right or not, I think we could have quite a long debate about it. That's the way it's been set up. So we have to do the best we can sometimes with systems that aren't playing the way we would prefer them to. But yes, if there are aspects that you think we should be discussing in more detail to try and resolve where we're not getting the resolution, please feel free to contact us. Please feel free to contact me. I will do whatever I can to help broker the discussions and get us in the right place. But I very much appreciate the approach and the way you wish us to work in partnership. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Yeah, diolch. Thank you, Penny. Do you have some more?
Thank you for that very honest response. We're desperate to work with you, and I can assure you that after this meeting in the next 7 days, we will meet as a team with our questions and queries and email you directly so we can really look at getting this effective working plan for our citizens together. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Okay, thank you. I apologise to the members of the committee that, but I thought it was important to hear from the cabinet members who are most important in this aspects. Right, I believe Councillor Carr, you're next. For your question, please, Dave. I'm sorry to have it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Is the microphone all right? And can people hear me? That's the most important thing, I think. Yeah, really the essential thing we need to do is to improve GP services, because that is the first point of contact. The situation at the moment, and it's not really a very adequate situation, is that GPs have too many patients, and that is the real problem. And when they're asked to actually extend, or they have to pay the capital costs, if they want to move to another property because they've got too many patients, so they can put more GPs in, then the capital costs are paid by them, and the health board only pays the running costs. We do need to put money into that, and it's a question I asked before when somebody from the health board came to speak to us, that we do need health centres with medical staff in. I mean, the situation at the moment is, in my ward, it's not working. The GP sort of surgery in my ward has too many patients. So the situation's not working for anyone. What we need some way of being able to accommodate people. And my suggestion, but I don't know if this would require funding, is that we put health centres into areas where GPs we have too many patients. Put health centres in and staff them with medical staff. That's what we need to do, because we're getting more people going to A&E. People go to A&E, they can't get a GP's appointment, they go to A&E, or some people don't bother at all and they get really sick. Do you know what I mean? It's more about prevention, really. So I'd like to see, within the 10-year plan, what plans they have to actually deliver at that basic first level where people make the first contact with the health service at GP level, so that people can get appointments. There are some, it's actually worse in other wards where they're only doing emergency appointments. So some of my residents actually go to a surgery in another ward. They're not actually sort of registered with the one in my ward. They go to another ward where it's only giving emergency appointments at the moment. And that's not satisfactory either, because the basic things are being missed if you only got emergency appointments. So that's basically the nub of the question. How can we deliver at that local level? How can we get more medical staff in? If the GPs are not wanting to expand, can we put health centres in, and can we put sort of medical staff in to take up the slack? Thank you.
Yep. There we go.
Yes, thank you. I think you raised some of the fundamental issues that are facing GP practices and those of us who rely on them. I'm sure you don't want to know all about my medical history, but I live in an area where there used to be 4 GP practices and now there's 1, and I've gone from one to the other gradually and ended up with the last GP standing, as it were, and that serves a population of 15,000. I agree with your analysis. It's too much. So as a result, there's massive pressure, difficulty getting appointments, and then, as you say, people bypassing the GP and going straight into ED and putting extra pressure there. So we need to do something, and I think there are 2 or 3 things that we are doing. First of all, attracting GPs to work as GPs isn't what it was half a century ago. GPs are looking for something different now. They're looking for different experiences. Some of them are looking to do general practice, but also be involved in research perhaps. Some are looking to do part-time work. Some are looking to do general practice, but also specialise in something. The additional thing that a good offer is, and as you say, it's very often in a health centre type of environment, is where there's a whole suite of offers in terms of health and well-being. That means you don't actually need to see a GP. You can see all those associated, the associated support, and West End is quite a good example of that, although the numbers I know cause problems at times. So what part of the opportunity we've got is to look at the estate. I agree with you. There are some GP surgeries, as it happens, my local one exists in a terraced house, which is not acceptable in 2025, I don't think. But we are gradually improving the estate and looking at health centres. Now, I've got to say, it's more complicated than you think. That's what I've discovered anyway, because some GP practices, of course, are what you would term private business and don't wish to change because they're happy with their lot. So it's quite difficult sometimes to engage with those GP practices. But the good news, I hope, is the medical school in Bangor University, who are training medics, and eventually, it will take time, they will come into the system. But we've got to make the offer from the health board an attractive one. Not just say, join this practice, you've got 15,000 patients, you're going to work 7 days a week virtually. That's not going to be attractive for young people coming into the profession. So we've got to look at what that offer can be like, and can it be a combination of things, and work across boundaries as well. So I think there is a way forward that hopefully will have that impact you highlighted.
Yeah, diolch, David. And Corrith Kay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for coming this afternoon. There's recently been some immigration policy changes for health and social care workers. Is that going to impact the health board? I know it's impacting local care companies, that sort of thing. So is there a contingency plan in place if that is going to affect the health board?
If I can respond to that briefly, we, as other NHS bodies, have raised our concerns. Welsh Government have also raised their concerns because undoubtedly it will have an impact. We, as other health boards, have recruitment, active recruitment overseas. And if you look at the NHS historically, we've been very proud to be able to attract people from all parts of the globe into the NHS, and they've served us amazingly well and have become rooted in our communities over the years. Any obstacle to that will have a negative impact. I can only hope that discussions between Welsh Government and UK Government will highlight that. I know the First Minister has expressed her concerns as well as the Cabinet Secretary. So I'm hoping there will be a way we can still recruit people from overseas to service and develop and be trained here equally, because we need it.
And diolch. Okay, and Cheryl, did you want to speak? Press your button.
Yeah, just give us a moment, Cheryl.
We've confused the system a bit. And Cheryl, please.
There we go. Excellent, excellent. Well, as a new member of the committee, I'm going to chance my arm because I've got a couple of questions, actually. So thank you very much for your presentation and all the slides, and I'm sure the chair will share those. They're free to share. Lovely. Thanks. And my first question is for Gareth. You say that YGC, the ED there, has been de-escalated by HIW, yet the patient experience for those of us in Conway is worse than ever. There's waits of 48 hours. I regularly witness my residents stay 48 hours in chairs in corridors, and I'm not quite sure how the de-escalation has come around when things are patently so bad in this central area. That was my first question. Thanks, Gareth.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, I don't think waits have got worse. I think in some areas our performance data is telling us things have got a bit better. So things like how long people are waiting on ambulances before they're offloaded, etc., has actually got better. However, there are still some areas which probably haven't improved and probably are pretty much the same. So we still have far too many people who wait more than 12 hours for admission, really, once they need to be admitted. That's a key performance indicator that we are not getting worse on, but we are struggling to make the improvements we would like to. And that's because that particular performance measure is highly dependent on things that go on outside of emergency department, how long people are delayed getting home from hospital, and indeed how many people are coming to the front door in the first place. So I wouldn't want to play down that the experience of people who use our services and our ED at YGC still isn't good enough. It isn't. But the concerns that Healthcare Inspectorate Wales identified when they placed us into special measures have been addressed, but it doesn't mean it's perfect by any means. And the problems we have at YGC are probably no different, as I say, to most ED departments anywhere in the UK, I would suggest. So there is lots more improvement work going on, and we'll need to go on so that hopefully one day you will sit here and say things have got better, because that's what we clearly all aspire to.
Thank you very much, Dale, for that. My second question was around carers, as the carers champion within Conway. Have priority appointments for carers with GPs been rolled out to all GP surgeries now? Because I know that was something that a previous board did begin. And I just wondered how far that went. I get an awful lot of correspondence from carers, excuse me, saying that they try and get GPs appointments to fit in with the brief respite care slots, and it just doesn't happen. So I wondered where we were with that, please, before I go on to the next one. Thank you.
So I'm not sure, Cheryl, is my honest answer sitting here today. So that is one piece of information I'm more than happy to go away and provide for you and the committee. And actually, I'd be interested myself, because that's something I probably should be aware of. I'm certainly aware that was the intention, but as to how well it's functioning, then I will go and ask the question.
That's lovely. Thank you. I look forward to that. And my third one, while I'm still chancing my arm, is Betsy's response to the RLDP, the Replacement Local Development Plan we've got. There's due massive expansion across Conway of house building. And I'm really concerned, particularly in the central area, the provision for Old Colwyn and Colwyn Bay. It's a question for you, David, I think, around planning. Who is responding on behalf of Betsy? What data are they using? And I know my colleague, Councillor David, touched before on GP provision in Old Colwyn. There's a massive expansion going on there, yet the statement of common ground doesn't give any deliverables or anything that we can measure. There's no satellite surgery coming for Old Colwyn, and that is a real concern. You know, where are the extra diagnostic services, district nurses, minor injuries units capacity? All that is of real concern to us. So, diolch.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think it's a very good point, and it's one that has been well made over the recent past, if I can say, due to one or two major developments in the county. There is a principle, isn't there, where there's an expansion of the population that in a turn will produce an extra call on public services, health being one of them. So it's important that we as a health board respond to any opportunity there is to clarify what that means in terms of the health infrastructure. I don't think we've done that very well in the past, if I can say that. We do have people now who are tuned into it in the planning department, and there are formula that we do follow in terms of X number of people equals X number of GPs or whatever. That's the theory. But I think importantly, we need to respond to any opportunity to engage and to spell out exactly what that extra infrastructure in terms of building means in terms of our health infrastructure and what the need is. And that can either be addressed through individual planning applications, or it can be addressed through the revision, as you say, of the LDP. But we need to make sure we're doing that in the way that will help.
Dale, David, I think that's something that we could usefully discuss outside of this committee and go into more depth, because this plan is presumably going out to deposit in a short while. And I know I have other colleagues that wish to ask questions around that, but Dale, and you'll be pleased to know that Councillor Cathy's touched on all my questions about CAMS and the neurodevelopmental waiting times, and I shall email Alison directly about the children looked after concerns. So, thank you all.
May I also say, please email me as well in order for us to follow up with that.
Now you're in for trouble.
But well, if I can get my defence in as well.
Okay. Okay.
I am away. I am taking some time off from Friday for the following week, so I may not respond during that week, but I will respond.
Okay.
And Corrith Paul, I think you've been waiting a long time. No problem. Thank you, Cheryl. Press your button.
David, thanks for coming along again. I remember questioning you last time you came along about the sort of balance of power between patients, service users, and the system, the state, in how it delivers services. And you were strong in your assertion, patients always come first, and we need to further improve on our patient and service user focus. So when I was listening to you today, the first thing I just want to acknowledge, I felt your greater humility about that. I didn't last time, but today I felt your greater humility about that, because I'm very conscious, and I'm battled hardened, like most councillors around this table, at listening to service users and patients. And that loss of trust in Betsy over a long period is very problematic. And part of that loss of trust, in my view, was that historically there were often arrogant and dismissive attitudes towards patients, their advocates, particularly when things went wrong. And I do begin to feel that there is a change in that culture. And I do understand that takes significant time to lead and influence. And it's good to hear that some of those steps are being made. I've still got some specific questions, though, that I want to ask. Can we be reassured now, because in terms of that culture, are we through now all the leadership churn that we've had over the years? And I know that's a difficult one to answer, but in a sense, the reason I ask that is because if there's leadership churn, it sows doubt in people's minds about how sustainable some of these things are. So that's one specific question. Maybe you could deal with that one first, and I've got a couple of other specific ones then to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. I concur with your analysis. I think it's pretty accurate, and it's reflected in comments coroners have made over the years, for example. In terms of the leadership, well, I think that is key, first of all, that we have a team of people and have staff who are here for a period and because they want to be here. Carol, our current chief exec, has been in the health board for 2 years. I think she's the longest serving chief exec in the last decade. Now that's a pretty frightening statement. But what I see in terms of the people we have recruited and people, if I may say, such as Gareth, who have been with the health board over a period, and Alison, is that people are committed to this improvement journey we are on. They're committed to play a really key part in getting us where we want to be. And they've joined the health board, some of them, and they remain in the health board because of that commitment. So in that respect, I think we have people who are here for the long term. Unless governments tell me otherwise, I'm here for the long term. However long I've got the opportunity and energy to do the job. Because this is my health board. You know, I've lived here all my life. My family have lived here for generations, and I've worked in the health board. I know North Wales pretty much from east to west and north to south. So the commitment is there. I think what we need to do is to ensure that the culture we develop is putting people first. So it means also putting our staff first and putting patients first. If I can just reference on that, you will know about some of the incidents that have occurred in the health board over the last decade or so around mental health, where there have been failings. We have responded to various reports and commissioned the Royal College to look at what had been achieved. And as a result of that, we are taking further action, and part of that action is involving patients and members of family who have been let down over the years, to inform us of their experience, to inform us of what they think we should be doing. That is going to take time, but it's the right approach. And I hope by adopting that approach, we can provide, we will have insight that we wouldn't have otherwise. You know, I know it's cold in Iceland, but I don't know how cold it is because I've never been there. So that insight, direct insight from patients and staff is absolutely vital if we are to change the way we provide services.
Thank you. Could I just, and I know Kathy and Penny and others have pursued the issues, particularly in terms of our collaboration, which is totally fundamental, because your patients are our service users and our residents. A specific question on the children's services, because we were all shocked by the problems we had in youth justice services. Can I ask specifically, Alison, have we recruited now those staff in youth justice services so that that capacity and capability problem is now resolved? Yes. So that's all in place.
Thank you, Paul. Can I ask members to please keep their questions brief? We've still got 3 more people who want to speak and ask questions, and we do have another agenda item before the end of the meeting. Thank you. Gareth or David, would you reply to that?
I've answered that question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks very much indeed. Sorry.
Yeah, Gareth Goronwy, did you want to speak?
Diolch yn fawr, Chairman. I'm not on the committee. I am a cabinet member for ERF, and you think, what is ERF got to do with health? But we do deal with an awful lot of people with their daily lives. So I think it is all about partnership. And I thank David and Gareth and Lady Colin for your openness and willingness to accept that we do have failings. We all have failings. We are struggling to deliver services in an ever-growing area of demand, whether it be health care or anything else with diminishing resources. I go back to the time when I took over the leadership of the council many years ago, when we were threatened with a Section 10 then, because we had issues with our services. But what you just said this morning, the openness and the transparency that we admit our failures and we're willing to start looking at how we turn that boat around. And I think it is key that it is partnership. And that's the only way we will go forward. We're all, we can't be in competition for a diminishing pot of money. So therefore we have to use smart technology, smart working, and coming together to deliver service. I'm sure you'll have the same issues in the 6 of the 5 other authorities you go to across North Wales. But it is, it's such a multifaceted service that you provide, the same as the county provides. So we have to try and look at, can we, cut out the processes, the red tape, to work together. So I look forward to anything we can do with yourselves and having that honest conversation, come out of our silos and right, can we use smart technology? Can we use artificial intelligence? Anything we can do to cut out that bureaucracy, the processes that not just you. I can't understand why the ambulance service is separate to the health service. We're all trying to deal with the same people, so we have to cut through this red tape and not blame each other, but work together. And I look forward to whatever we can do together. It can only make the things better.
Did you want to respond to that? Or not?
Well, I welcome Corono's remarks and his willingness to help promote that partnership working, absolute key. And the great thing I think we've seen about Conwy Council is that citizen-centred approach, and that's something we can learn as a health board, is citizen first, organisation second.
Right, and Horace Shan, I think you've been waiting some time.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm no longer on the committee, so thank you for allowing me to talk. And I apologise for being late. I had an urgent call and I hope I haven't missed something. My first question is, have you any idea on the plans for the timescales for the new medical centre in Conwy Town area? And the second question I have is, I obviously we all understand the dentist and the issues we have, but I believe we should be prioritising the children in the dentist that we do have, because I know many children now who are waiting for non-essential treatment and they have no chance because they've got no dentist and they've been waiting for many years and they are going to grow up without having that treatment. And I think we're letting those children down, and they can't go and find a private dentist to pay because they haven't got access to it. That's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So in terms of the timeline for the proposed development in Conwy, which is a partnership project, and we're very grateful for the support that you've given us, and will, I'm sure, continue to give us to see this through. We were asked a little while ago by Welsh Government just to reflect on our priority areas around capital, and that's a process that is just about completing now within the organisation. This particular project in Conwy remains one of our priorities, and certainly in Conwy, beyond what we're doing in Llandudno that I spoke about earlier on, this is very much our main capital priority for development. So we are working to currently working to a timeline where the outline business case will be completed this year and submitted then for approval. There will then be a further stage of business case beyond that. So I don't have an up-to-date potential opening date, if you like, where patients would be walking through, and clearly there are a number of hoops to jump through before we would get to that point. But we're actively working on the next stage of the business case, the current stage of the business case, and that will hopefully be ready this year. And it's a critical bit of the business case process because it's the bit that really puts the detail on the case and does the detailed costings and design, etc., etc. So yeah, we'll continue to work with you as a partner and keep you appraised of that process. Second question about dental, I think we'd recognise and sort of align ourselves to concerns about access to dental services and in particular with children. It remains an area of focus in the organisation, not just community dental and general dental services, but more specialist aspects of dental services as well, orthodontics and so forth. I mean, positively, we have just recently announced some additional contracts in dental services across North Wales to the tune of about £5.5 million. About £4 million of that, I think, is aligned to general dental services. I think in Conwy there are 3 practices who have been awarded. I think they're in Llandrwst, Abergele and Conwy, I think. So we are actively working on how we can improve the access to dental services, and of course within that then how we particularly get at children's dental health as well.
Thank you.
Abdul, you have a question?
Yes, Chair. Thank you all for coming, and congratulations for coming out from the special measure. I think most of them has been touched, but Gareth mentioned about the medical centre, which got 17,500 patients, and you have come a long way. You have improved, but there is more rooms for improvement, I think. And we're hearing from the patients, especially the elderly one, who's not with the technology savvy. And I have said in past, and I'm going to repeat myself again, is there any possibility of having walking-in surgery? I know 17,000 patients to deal with, and when you have a window of 8 to 9 hours, 1 hour window to put your appointment in, and you can't get through, and when you get through, you speak to the receptionist, then the triage phone. It's a long process. And I'm not sure why it won't work here. That was the answer I had last time, but it works well in cities, especially in England. So I'm hoping that you'll reconsider having a walk-in surgery, especially in the morning, because let's face it, who wants to go to surgery unless they need, and to David, I think you know, if anybody, you can achieve your goals, because you've been in a local government in the past, so you know that local government and NHS. So yes, please do what you're doing, but keep doing it. One thing I have to ask you, you did say that you balanced the budget, which is a very, for Welsh government, I'm sure it's a good achievement, but as you know, with the local balancing budget, we've always balanced it in the expense of our taxpayer. I'm just hoping that it won't be the expense of patients that you need to balance it. Whereas if you need to spend, I think, treatment should be given at the point of needs. And that's the core, I think, need to keep it in mind. It's more of a comment than any question, really. But thank you for coming.
Would you like to respond to that, Gareth? Or David?
Yeah, I'm happy to respond certainly to the first bit of that and the question, I suppose, about walk-in. That's not a model that's common in GP practices these days, and the reason for that, and the reason I think in West End, is because they are balancing the demand day in, day out between unscheduled care, if you like, urgent care, people who want to be and need to be seen that day, and of course they're more planned care activities, or people who are coming back for checkups and follow-ups and so forth. And they have been a practice, as you know, who have struggled with staffing at times and have had real difficulties, and though on the up at the moment, still have some way to go to be fully recruited. So that's really the barrier, I think, is the model is, and it's the same in many GP practices, is trying to balance between those two things on a day-by-day basis. However, I will take the question back to my colleagues who manage the practice and say, what's their ambition in that regard? And check with them. I think the wider point around it actually is there are other alternatives in the system as well that we need to promote, and we try hard to promote. There are, obviously depending on your issue, but we have very good and quite busy minor injury units in North Wales, and Llandudno is our biggest and busiest in North Wales, and is well regarded. But beyond that, the offer now for alternatives is much better. Community pharmacy, I think in particular, we've seen some really big developments there over the last year or two in the common ailment scheme, where you can go to your pharmacist and often see a prescribing pharmacist as well, be seen for a whole range of illness or ailments. And that's a job for us and others to promote these alternatives to people as well, so that it isn't just about seeing a medical practitioner or indeed your GP, and there are a range of other professionals who can help and support as well. But I will take the question back about the ambition in regards to walking, because even if the ambition isn't there, if that model perhaps isn't really current in some way, I think the challenge about access is still valid. If you can't get through, if you're struggling to get triage or get an appointment, then that's the challenge really. A walk-in might be an option, a solution, but there may be other solutions as well.
Just quickly, thank you. The difference between Western Medical Centre and Old Colwyn are still GP, so the patient knows their GP and vice versa. And that goes a long way. Whereas mostly you have locum here, so patients don't see same faces again. That's the barrier itself. Are you saying you recruited 5 full-time permanent, or are they? That you can answer first, but I think, yes, there is water everywhere, but not a drop for a drink. The patient's first protocol is to go to the GP, especially if they're in a catchment area. I know you say in emergency. That's why Councillor Carr said the emergency gets clogged up because of people not getting through to their GP first. So prevention is better than cure. If you can prevent that, then it saves them from going to chemist and everyone. If you go to Morrison Chemist, there used to be 3 or 4 chemists in Colwyn Bay. That's closed already. There's only Morrison and Western left now. So going there, getting service is hard. It sounds great, in the paper, but practically, I'm telling you, because we hear it, it's not.
Thank you for those comments. Yeah, just to confirm, we have 5 substantive GPs employed at the practice at the moment. That's equates to about 3.5 full-time equivalent, because clearly some of them work part-time. And we have the ambition to get to about 7.5 substantive.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a brief question myself, which hasn't been raised by anybody else. I'd like to know what the status is of the current phlebotomy service. It seems to be somewhat chaotic, and the online booking system is good, but obviously that's going to exclude a few people. But the main issue seems to be it's 4-week wait time for most appointments, and there are a number of patients who are on chronic medication who need their levels adjusting, and waiting for a month to find out to be able to take a test is not good enough for when they need to have their level of medication adjusted. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, aware of issues with phlebotomy and access to phlebotomy services at the moment. It's a combination of an operational issue because of vacancies and some staff sickness over the last few months that have brought the sort of situation to a head, and a increase in demand as well. Over the last 12 months, there's been about a 5% increase in demand. So the two together have put pressure on the standard we have for that service, which is about 1 week. It has been worse than 4 weeks, but it is about 4 weeks at the moment. So there is an improvement in there, but it is slowly coming back down to where we need it to be in 1 week. So recognise it's not fantastic at the moment. Appreciate the experience for people is not what it should be, but there are improvement activities underway to try and improve it, and staff are moving around North Wales to try and plug the gaps, if you like, where we've got those gaps.
Yeah, I was just wondering why, for instance, GP surgeries cannot take bloods that they've been asked, that the actual GP's requested on the premises, because they've got the nursing staff who are capable of doing it. That doesn't seem to happen these days, and it would be much more logical and simple for the patient rather than to have to make 2 appointments. Thank you.
I don't think I absolutely know the answer to that one. It's a good question, but that was a model that I think was moved away from some time ago into the model that we've got. So why that couldn't be even a short-term solution, let alone a longer-term solution, I will go and ask the question.
I believe Cheryl is going to have another question.
Thank you.
Very generous, Chair.
I know.
Very.
It's because I'm such a generous chair of Frost, can let everyone speak. So there
You'll
we
be
go.
in detention after.
No problem. One quick question, please, David. Do you think that Betsy is going to be taken out of special measures in the next 12 months? Thanks.
Yes, thank you for that interesting question. Well, that judgment lies elsewhere. it's with government and it's government call. You can look back historically to the way special measures and the health board have been on a journey in and out, and when things happened and when things didn't happen. And you might come to your own conclusion over the next 12 months, given events in 12 months' time. But, can I just add, our focus is rightly delivering what the government asked of us within the special measures programme, but our focus is achieving the best possible health board to serve the people of North Wales. I think when we reach that point, a byproduct will be that government will want us out of special measures. So it's that way around, not the other way around. Our approach is to achieve what we should be achieving. If government recognise that, they will in turn then look at what measures they have in place.
Right, thank you. I think that's probably everything. I'd just like to thank you all for attending. It's been a very interesting discussion, and thank you for the answers. Okay, there is no vote on this subject because it's for information only, but most welcome. Right, we'd like to move on to the next subject on the agenda, which is... Yeah, sorry, we'll just give the health. Yeah, if anybody wants to take a 2-minute comfort break, we'll. I think it would probably some people would appreciate that. Consider a report by the Head of Integrated Adult and Community Services, and this is the Connecting Care programme, pages 56 to 73 of your pack, and it's going to be introduced by Cynghorydd Penny.
Diolch yn fawr, Chair. So my introduction is only going to be half an hour long, so sit back and enjoy, folks. This is Connecting Care. It's been to scrutiny, it's been to council. I think we're all fully versed. So it's an update from Dawn Meek and Chris Phillips about where we're going. I'd like to thank both officers who've worked extremely hard with other officers to ensure that we're on top of it. We know what we're doing and we know the direction of travel. So that's all I intend to say. And I'd like to thank Jenny and Kat for being here to answer any questions, should there be some. And I'm not suggesting there are any questions that Chris or Dawn couldn't answer. So I'll hand it over to the officers, please.
You've got me.
I'll hand it over to Kat.
Behind me to answer questions. So. Right, so yes, you've got a copy of the report in your pack. A bit closer. There we are. Is that better? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so as Councillor Penny said, this report is an update on our Connecting Care programme since the last report that we gave you in October 24. So just to remind you, the Connecting Care programme is a national programme that's been developed by Welsh Government, and it's intended to set up a new case management system to be used by all local authorities as part of a wider approach. As part of a wider approach to client and patient care across health and social care. So it's part of Welsh Government's wider integration agenda. So this is the first phase of that. And the replacement system has been procured. So we went to tender and we reported that to you in October. The outcome of that tender was that the Access Group was successful in securing the contract, and we then undertook with the 6 North Wales authorities and the other authorities in Wales a tender negotiation process post October, and we finally signed the award contract with Access Group in January 2025. The new system it's going to be called Mosaic. So when you hear Mosaic being referred to, that is the case management system. So the wider programme is Connecting Care. So that's the integration and how we work with our health colleagues and across local authorities. And then the system that we're going to be using is called Mosaic. And yes, so following that award of contract in January 25, we've then had our initiation meetings with the provider, and we've had our project plan, and we've agreed that project plan. We've also organised the system familiarisation workshops with practitioners. We've also organised the user experience and user acceptance workshops with practitioners from both children and adult services, and those are taking place now in June and July to get that feedback from our practitioners. And we've also established our new governance framework for the Connecting Care programme. That is in Appendix 1, so it's the terms of reference for the board who will look after the Connecting Care programme is given in Appendix 1, and that board is co-chaired by Councillor Penny and Councillor Cathy. The resource implications are detailed in 6.1 in terms of the budget profile, which covers our contract costs, licensing, implementation costs, etc. And we've put in there the comparison with the information that we provided to the August Cabinet and the decision that went to Council in August to allocate the funding for this project, for this programme, if Welsh Government funding wasn't forthcoming. So that's a comparison of the budget there. So those are the resource implications for the programme. So we're now moving ahead to implementation. All that implementation work since the signing of contract is detailed in section 3. The only thing, so the recommendations are to note the content of the report and the fact that we're now moving to the delivery of the new system. And just to note also on the budget that we have retrospectively been approved for the budget that we, for 24-25, so the funding that we spent last year in getting to that point of awarding the contract and preparing for the implementation. And we're still awaiting a decision now around future funding for 25-26 and beyond. And we have sent a letter along with the local authorities. So we've sent our own Conwy letter signed by the leader and the portfolio holders to chase Welsh Government for that funding to make sure that we've got clarity about what that funding is going to be. So it's just to note that for members.
Who's taking this on now? Is it anybody? Paul, just questions, have we? Okay, Paul, take it away.
I've got one proposal and one question. I'll deal with the question first. If at the end of December, the system isn't operational, what are our contingencies for service users, providers of service, and anybody else, staff? Have we got a worked up contingency plan for the end of December if it's not operational?
Yes, we do. So we will continue on our existing WCCIS platform. It won't be supported by Microsoft, but we are working with our IT service to make sure that we've got all the safeguards that we need in place for a package that works until we've got Mosaic in place. And we're minimising the amount of time that we don't have that Microsoft support, because we can't have the Microsoft support because the platform is out of support in December. But there are things we can do, or IT can do, to mitigate any risks associated with that. So we will still have a case management system. We will still carry on using WCCIS, and we will still be able to do that migration across, but we will be putting those safeguards in place to make sure that that system is safe.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
My proposal, Chair, is re-governance of this and the board. I'd like to propose a member of the scrutiny committee is a member of that board, if that's appropriate, to make that proposal.
What's your view on that, Catherine?
As chairs of the board, Councillor Cathy and Councillor Penny, I would take your advice on that.
I think in the light of transparency and democracy, an active member of the committee who's got a significant knowledge about such a system would be more than welcome. And Cathy agrees. Thank you.
Encourage Cheryl.
Dear Chair, I'll second that proposal of Councillor
Thank you.
Paul and thank the
Well,
cabinet.
we need to nominate somebody to do it.
Well, Chair, would it be appropriate for me to nominate you as the chair of the committee?
Right, my.
That's the no then.
Yeah, all right. Could I have some votes? Could we have a vote on that, please? Would members like to show? Are there any other nominations for this new job? Or did you want to? Okay, I think we ought to take this in two ways. Could I have a vote for the principle of having a representative, please, members? All those in favour of that? And right, nominations for that person.
Well, I'm quite happy to nominate you as the chair to be on it, but obviously it's up to your choice.
Yeah, so that's nominated by Paul and seconded by Abdul. All those in favour? Well, I have no other nominations. Councillor Kay, did you have another nomination?
Yes, Councillor Sherrill had expressed an interest, so I'd like to suggest Councillor Sherrill as a recommendation.
Are you willing to do that, Cheryl?
Only if you're not, if your work precludes you from doing that.
I would be willing to do it, and I do have some background in IT, as you know. But I take it, is that acceptable to members then? We'd like to show? Me, I think. If I understand it rightly. Right. Thank you. Let's hope I haven't dropped myself too much into too much work. But thank you.
Councillor Simon's been appointed to this board then?
Yeah, I believe so.
Thank you.
Yep. Right, okay. Do we have any more questions before we, from members about this report? Encourage David.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear on the mic? Is this working? Right, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, I've got concerns about the funding for this, for the future. We're going to get a change in Welsh Parliament next year. We don't know. We can't guarantee this funding is going to come through. And I think IT systems play a valuable role in improving efficiency, productivity within social care, prioritising funding for carers. But, I'd rather the money go to carers. Care workers provide the direct care, and their skills, experience, I think, are crucial. And I don't want to see funding taken away from that to be put into an IT system if we're going to have a shortfall from the Welsh Government. We've got problems with staffing levels, fair wages and conditions, and really we do need to get more people into the social care workforce. So, they're my reservations of it, that if we don't get the promised funding, then it's going to come out of the social care budget. And IT systems are supporting tools. And while IT systems can streamline processes, ultimately it's the carers that provide the care and for the people they care for. So they're my reservations, that we need to be clear what we would do if we don't get from this government or a future Welsh government, if we don't get the funding. I'm not happy if the money's going to come out of the care budget where we haven't got the resources to pay for adequate care for our service users. Thank you.
Yeah, and Corrith Cathy, I think, would like to respond on that.
Yeah, I'll do this initially and then hand over to Kat. However, it is clear to us, and I think from this report and from previous debates on this issue, there is a contingency that has been set aside to cover this. It is absolutely fundamental. It's yes, I agree with you, Councillor Carr, that IT systems are tools. This is a really fundamental tool in order to record detailed information about cases, to make payments, to capture all sorts of information that would otherwise have to be in an antiquated paper system. It's replacing something that we absolutely relied on, but unfortunately no longer has support from the provider. That's my initial high-level response. I don't know if Kat wanted to add something to that. Thank you.
Catherine?
No, I think you've covered it, because as we've said in response to Councillor Paul's question, it is the system we've currently got is becoming unsupported as quite soon, and we need a new system. And the current system, in terms of our practitioners, actually it doesn't work best for them. So looking for a new system is something that we were doing. So we need a new system. And the funding, we took the decision to council in August as a contingency for this. So the council has actually approved budget for this development. That was so that we could go to procurement, because obviously we couldn't go to procurement without having a budget. We are hopeful that we won't need to use that budget, but it is there as the contingency for us with that council approval. So we do have a designated budget. It won't come from resources that would have been used for social care, direct delivery or social work hours.
Yeah. Thank you,
Can I just
Catherine.
comment briefly on this, Chair?
Yes, sir.
And say that we need to put more... We've got a workforce crisis at the moment. We've got high vacancy rates and high turnover, and we need to prioritise attracting and maintaining qualified staff. So we need to put more money into the workforce, and that's the point. The point that seems to be missed, that we can put more money into IT, but we do need those qualified staff. So, you know, my argument is that we need to put more money into that, and that should be the priority, not the IT. Thank you.
Yeah, and Corydd, Penny, I believe you want to respond.
Diolch, Chair. Yes, thanks, Councillor Carr, for outlining your important points. This is an IT mechanism to support data, personal information that's going to assist all our support workers, care workers, the foundation of what we as a department, for want of a better word, or service, is supported by. The recruitment, as you should know already, we are working very closely with Group Plan Drithlow. We are working with NVQ level 1s, level 2s. We've got a fantastic graduate programme in place. We've got 6 graduates, 4 of which are being converted to employment with us. We are doing as much as we can. This system has got nothing to do with, well, we're going to save this amount of money, so we're going to plough it into care. This is our IT support system, which every council across Wales is having to adopt due to the sensitivity and legislation that current policy is demonstrated and told to us by local and national government. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Penny. Yeah, it's certainly an important system. We all do know in Conway, I believe, that the value of having the proper IT systems rather than relying on old-fashioned email and spreadsheets. With multi-agency working, this type of system is pretty much essential, I think, in the modern age, given the requirements. But I do take Councillor David's reservations on board. We have run through Paris and then Wikis and now this new Mosaic system in the last 20 years, and it's had a somewhat checkered past having these solutions, and let's hope we've got the right one now in the end. Did Councillor, did you want to speak as well, Leader?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would completely agree. This is absolutely essential. There's a real potential. We were talking with our health colleagues earlier about better integration and putting the patient or the client, citizen first. If you don't have all that data in the one place, then there's a real danger that people aren't getting the right care. And you see that time and time again with people being given the wrong medication, etc., not given the care that they need. So it's not a nice to have. It's an absolutely essential thing, which will provide a better service and ultimately drive costs down by being more preventative in what it sets out to do. I did just want to highlight the really important work that WLGA has done here in driving this project forward, so that they took it on and developed it, put the business case in. As we said, we retrospectively received confirmation from Welsh Government that we would be funded for last year's business case. It's been raised repeatedly at a WLGA level that we need confirmation moving forward, and I, with the other leaders, attended a meeting yesterday with the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Jeremy Miles, and again this point was reinforced that this is critical, both in terms of the time of this delivery and obviously the ongoing revenue costs associated. So that point was made, and I was one of the signatories on a letter again reinforcing that point, that we need clarity, because the cost of not getting this will be much, much more expensive than the cost that'll get to deliver the system, and that's the key. We need to move to a more preventative agenda rather than dealing with acute fallout at a later date. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Yes, the health service we're talking earlier about trying to get away from paperwork systems, and oh, I've seen the files that thick generally for social services in the past, and really we don't want to go back to those days. Right, thank you everybody. Any more questions? Councillor Bernice, did you have one?
Sorry about that. I think one of my questions has been answered in that originally in the early discussions we had worked with other councils prior to this system going out, and we were saying about the importance of continuing to work with other authorities so that transition between staff. So I get the impression from what I've heard behind me that is actually happening. But have we thought if Betsy is changing its system, that there could be some integration between the two systems, because often patients turn up in hospital and don't know what their medication is. It causes delays, and equally, if we had some form of tie-up, whatever changes have happened to their medication, the person going in the first morning they're home also knows about the changes. That's...
Catherine?
Yes, so sorry if it wasn't clear. Yeah, this is a partnership programme with the other local authorities in, the 6 local authorities in North Wales and 16 other local authorities in at the moment throughout Wales. So this is a wider partnership of local authorities, and it also involves the 7 health boards. And part of that's what the Connecting Care programme is. It's that integration that Councillor Charlie was talking about, and some of that work that colleagues from BC were talking about earlier will be part of the Connecting Care programme. That's their part of that integration. So some of those systems that they're talking about will be the Connecting Care systems that will be implemented from a health point of view to integrate with us.
Right. Just one point, Jet. I notice it says recommendations. Can I move the recommendations for the 2 recommendations?
Thank you very much.
That we note.
And it's seconded by Councillor Abdul. Right. Could I have a show of...
Sorry, Chair, can we do an electronic vote, please, members?
Oh, yes, why not? Yeah. Do we know how to do this?
We do.
Right. So you've got your 3 buttons. Green for yes, red for no, and yellow for abstain. That's... So, right, we've got everybody. Where do we see the answer now? Yeah, okay, I think we've got everybody. Has everybody voted?
So 11.
Yep, we've got 11 in favour.
No one against. And
Nobody against and nobody abstaining. Right, that's wonderful. We've actually used the electronic system for once. Right, thank you very much for coming, everybody, and such an interesting debate today. Diolch yn fawr iawn. I'll close the meeting now.